eventually won't be back no more. It could be a spoonful of diamonds. The ace of spades, the ace of spades. Just a little bit, hey baby, just a little bit. All right now, hold me close, some time to dance. Big leg woman with a sharp in his skirt. I've been in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. I done said the right thing, but it must have used the wrong line.
Saudações, aqui Hugo Medeiros no Boteco Rock após um longo inverno sem lives, sem entrevistas aqui no canal. Hoje estou voltando aqui em alto estilo com D.K. Harrell, um grandíssimo músico de blues da novíssima geração do blues lá de Nova Orleans. Ele caiu, mas daqui a pouco deve estar voltando, não se preocupem. Afinal, hoje ele apareceu, nada que tenha sido culpa dele, claro que não. Tivemos problemas técnicos aqui que inviabilizaram, já voltou aqui, que inviabilizaram a participação dele aqui no último domingo, famoso ontem. Mas hoje, além do D.K. Harrell, estou aqui com meu grande irmão, parceiro e companheiro de blues, de música aqui do Rio de Janeiro, Leonardo Torresini, meu grande irmão. E hoje estará... É sempre bom, né? Para não ter só um babaca aqui falando de música sem saber de música, pelo menos teremos alguém aqui que sabe diferenciar um mi de um si, né? Já que eu não sei absolutamente nada de música. So, now I'll start to speak in a little bit in English because my English is not so good. It's like a illegal Mexican immigrant, but I'll try. So I'll always start to speak in Portuguese, then in English, then the D.K. Harrell will talk in English. Then I'll try to translate. But well, first of all, D.K., thank you so much for agreeing to participate in this live broadcast with us. I always say that the average Brazilian has a lot of sympathy for the blues, but does not know the style. That's why it's always very important to receive an American blues musician, because we receive information and testimonials from those who grew up and lived in the cradle where the style was created. So, once again, thank you so much for being with us, man.
Oh, obrigado. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So my first question is, you were born and raised in Ruston, a town far north of Louisiana. It is closer to the southern Nebraska, the western Mississippi, and the eastern Texas than it's to the New Orleans. My question is Ruston closer culturally and musically to New Orleans or to these other states?
Honestly, it's really to the other states. Where I come from, hip-hop and rap has always been the dominant music that everyone has been listening to. Blues is almost like a foreign language to people in North Louisiana. If they do admire blues, it's mostly what's considered Southern soul, which is a Southern soulful, more funky R&B style of blues. But 9 times out of 10, they aren't musicians. They are just singers who have backing tracks and sing with the backing tracks, but never have a full band. But when it comes to traditional blues, everyone is not really very fond of it or not aware of it.
Yeah. So I'll try to translate here. Ele falou basicamente aqui que, na verdade, Ruston, né, que está bem ao norte da Louisiana, está muito mais próximo, musicalmente, culturalmente, a esses outros estados que eu citei aqui, no caso, Nebraska, Mississippi e Texas. Na verdade, Ruston, ele tem muito mais coisas, elementos do hip-hop, né, do que do blues. Ele falou que existem outros elementos ali, mas que o blues tradicional na cidade, na região onde ele habita, é meio que um idioma um tanto quanto, não é esquisito, um tanto quanto incomum, não é incomum, mas basicamente... Oi?
Ele disse que é quase como se fosse uma língua estrangeira.
Isso, perfeito, uma língua estrangeira. Now, Léo, go on.
So, why did you pick up the blues, brother? How it all happened to you? When?
Oh, wow. I actually started to really listen to music. And when I say actually started listening, I really mean paying attention and opening my ears to music at about 5 or 6 years old when the film Ray came out, which was based on Ray Charles, starring Jamie Foxx. And I started to research Ray Charles, and as I researched Ray Charles's music, I came across artists such as Sam Cooke, Sam and Dave, artists who are with Stax Records, Chess Records when it comes to blues, just a variety of artists. And about the age of 9, I picked up blues harmonica from the film Cadillac Records, and kind of made the decision that this is something that I really want to do. So a lot of people are not aware that I played blues harmonica before I ever picked up guitar. But I kind of got tired of blues harmonica and decided to pick up guitar, and I wanted to play like John Lee Hooker. But so many people could play like John Lee Hooker, so after going through various guitarists such as Chuck Berry, Muddy Waters, who else? Tony Hollins, who did Crawling King Snake. I decided to go with B.B. King and study his style and tone and technique for about 7 years. So that's how I got into it.
Nice. Leonardo,
Brilliant.
please translate, please.
Bom, ele disse antes de pegar a guitarra, ele tocou gaita. Ele falou um bocado de coisa antes, mas o que eu acho que eu devo condensar é falar sobre a história dele, né? Com pouca idade, 5, 6 anos, ele escutava as coisas do Ray Charles. Mais pra frente ele pegou a gaita, enjoou-se da gaita, começou a tocar guitarra. No começo ele tentou tocar na onda do John Lee Hooker, e depois ele foi evoluindo para outros guitarristas, Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry, até que pirou com a onda do B.B. King e decidiu estudar. E essa é uma onda que realmente leva anos para alguém se desenvolver propriamente. E aí ele está nessa daí.
Show.
I just listened to your record, brother. It's awesome. I love it. Seriously, I really find that your language, your style it reminds me of B.B. King. You got your own stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. I love it.
Well, the record, thank you for that. We did our best to make a good record, at least something that we thought was valuable and, really worth it. Honestly, that record pays a lot of homage or is dedicated to the blues that we heard or we could have heard back in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, where you had this great rhythm section, you had great horns. When you start going into the 60s and 70s part of the blues, a lot of artists started using more horns and more violins. So this record is dedicated to, in my opinion, what the blues actually is.
Translate, please, Leonardo.
Ele disse que ele procurou fazer alguma coisa relevante no disco dele, mas se concentrou na onda dos anos 50, alguma coisa de 60, 70, com bastante ênfase nos sopros, né? E tentando estar circunscrito à linguagem, ao estilo daquela época, né? Sendo bastante fiel àquilo que era feito naquele tempo. E ele acha que conseguiu, eu acho que sim. Honey,
Nice.
Ain't So Sweet. Great song.
Yes.
So, yeah, please, go.
Honey Ain't So Sweet is based on a true story. Many of those songs are based on a true story, but Honey Ain't So Sweet has been the one that's really been catching people's attention, and they've been asking, is this a real person? And it is. And I was in love with her. I was crazy about her, and found out she wasn't so sweet.
So, DK, our first participation here from our for our audience, André Sal is a great blues. Is a great blues fan. He say, I've listened to his new album, The Right Man, and it is amazing. It's always on replay here. Really awesome sound.
Oh, I thank you so much. I really thank you for that, Miss Andre. I do my best for you all. There's people like you that keep young people like me in the business of blues. And oh, there's Big Chico as well. um, we just we just do what we do because the music is important and it's about making people happy.
Yeah. So my question now is because we have the Mississippi Delta blues from the early from the early 20th century. We have also the electric Chicago blues, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Otis Rush. We have the Piedmont blues. Is there such a thing as a Louisiana blues, or it is all blues after all?
Well, of course, it's all blues overall, but I will say that you do have different sounds in different areas. Um, just like if you hear bump, 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 people say, okay, that's the Texas Shuffle. But if you do dun 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 dun, they'll either say that's Chicago style blues or urban blues or BB King blues. Um, in Louisiana, we actually do have our own type of blues. We had several artists like Snooks England, who came out of Louisiana, as well as the Neal family, Kenny Neal, Ray Neal, and they all have their distinctive sound and changes and techniques that they've taken with traditional blues and various styles of blues and just made it their own, and it produces Louisiana blues. Even with Louis Armstrong being more affiliated with jazz, if you listen to songs such as St. James Infirmary, of course, that is a blues song and not a jazz song. And that's
Yeah.
all Louisiana for you.
Ele falou bastante coisa aqui, mas ele falou que dependendo da região sempre terão sons peculiares, sempre terão sons característicos ali da região que o músico está inserido. Ele falou que, por exemplo, há diversos tipos de som na Louisiana. Ele citou aqui o caso do Ray Charles, que ele coloca elementos dele, mas que no final é tudo blues, sim. Deixa escapar alguma coisa, Léo?
Não, mas mais ou menos ele falou assim que existem certos ritmos que são associados a determinadas cidades e que há algo que você possa dizer que seja blues da Louisiana, mas no fim é isso daí. No fim, todos eles estão associados pela raiz do som, né? Sim.
Yeah. So we have, DK, two great Brazilian musicians from our blues here. The first one, Alamo Leal, sent you a big hug and said that you're an amazing and humble guy. And other great musician is Big Chico. Hey, DK, how are you, brother?
I'm doing fine, brother. I hope you're doing well. Of course, I can't wait to be over there and we get to jam and knock it out the park.
Yeah. Leo, go on.
And yes, with Alamo, man, we played together at the Mississippi Delta Blues Festival last year in November in Caxias do Sul. And it was really crazy. Sadly, I never knew of Alamo, but other Mississippi artists who were there, such as Jackie Nazar, and I believe Heather Cross is her name, a bass player. They knew Alamo, but I didn't. But Alamo, they heard me play, and I believe he closed out the festival. I want to say the second to last day or the last day. And we had this very big jam, and he said, I want to ask DK to come and do one with me. And when he did that made me feel pretty special that here was this guy I sadly did not know at the time, asked me to join him, and ever since then it's been nothing but love and respect for each other.
Yeah. DK falou aqui que ele conheceu o Alamo no festival, no Mississippi Delta Blues Festival em Caxias do Sul ano passado. Ele contou aqui algumas histórias de como ele conheceu, nas circunstâncias que conheceu o Alamo. Foi numa jam ao final do evento e gostou muito. Ele falou aqui alguns nomes de músicos. Eu não processei aqui os nomes, peço perdão se algum desses músicos estiver aqui, mas que foi super bacana e que desde então ele tem muito respeito pelo Alamo e pelos músicos brasileiros. Léo, next question, please.
Alamo is a national treasure, man.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you about how did you do your record, man? Was it live at the studio?
Oh, man. Well, the talk about doing a record started late last year after I met Michael Kinsman, who was over the San Diego Blues Festival. And then when I did the legendary Rhythm and Blues Cruise in January of this year, I met Jim Pugh, who's over the Little Village Foundation. And Jim asked me on the ship himself, he said, "Do you want to make a record?" And I said, "Yes, but I need to tell you I don't really play chords." So we get to the studio on March 9th, I believe we went in, on March 10th. Went to San Jose, California, to Greaseland Studios, where Kid Anderson, of course, is the head guy over the studios. And we had Jerry Jamot on bass, who was the original bass player on The Thrill Is Gone, as well as had collaborated with Aretha Franklin, George Benson, The Grateful Dead, the list goes on. And we even had Tony Coleman, who was B.B. King's drummer and percussionist for over 30 years on that record. And we even had Kid Anderson himself play guitar, and we had Jim Pugh on keys. And then we had Tyro Power do the horn section and Don Day do the violins. But long story short, we went in the studio kind of winging it. You know, we went after, I have these 3 notebooks that are just full of songs. And we sat there and looked through a few, and I would pick random ones. And those 11 songs that are on the record are the random ones we chose. We didn't have to really rewrite anything or make any changes. And there we go. That's how we ended up doing this record. And it was just a very great opportunity. We had a lot of fun doing it. Funny story with the right man, Jim Pugh got a little aggravated with me because at the beginning of the song we do 3 hits on the 5 chord, and I had played the 5 chord. he turned around and he said, "You told me you don't play chords." I said, "Okay, correction. I don't play chords very well."
Oh man!
Translate, please.
When you told me that you don't play chords, you know that it reminded me of the greatest of them all. B.B. King always said the same thing. I've seen a few interviews of him saying that he didn't play chords. So I mean, I don't know if chords are that important.
Well, honestly, a lot of people think you have to play chords to play guitar, or any instrument that you have to play chords, and you don't. Because even if you hit, 1 note on a guitar, that's a chord by itself. Because it's creating that 1 note that you need, just like several notes can create 1 note that you need. I actually went to a show recently of a young lady named Maggie Kerner, who's a guitarist and great vocalist. And every song that she played was thumping the E string and just moving her finger up and down the fretboard on that E string. And she's a great lyricist. I mean, her songs are very deep and passionate and meaningful. And by the end of the show, she had people giving her a standing ovation. And she's been all over the world doing what she does. So you don't have to be such a technical expert when it comes to music to be good at what you do.
I agree on you. Vamos lá, a gente falou, ele falou, foi uma resposta longa, né? Eu perguntei a ele como é que foi que ele gravou o disco, e aí ele falou que encontrou o Jim Pugh em San Diego, e, bom, ele falou de outros nomes, assim, sendo que um deles já tinha gravado baixo para o B.B. King, e o outro já tinha trabalhado com gente também famosa, e também o nome me escapa agora, porque a gente escuta tudo isso e fica aqui envolvido, acaba não processando. Mas depois... Então, e aí eles começaram a discutir quais músicas iam tocar, e o Kid Anderson e outros caras lá perguntaram lá como é que ia ser. Ele falou: olha, gente, vamos gravar isso daí, mas eu não toco acordes. E ele contou que foi muito divertido fluíram muito bem, mas que teve um momento lá onde rolou uma certa tensão entre ele e um cara que decidiu em um arranjo, né, se não salvo engano, começar com um acorde do quinto grau. E quando o cara fez os ataques no acorde do quinto grau, ele também fez. De forma que o cara falou, você falou para mim que você não tocava acordes. Ele falou, não é assim. Eu não toco acordes brilhantemente. E aí a gente falou, depois disso, sobre a importância de saber acordes, sobre qual a necessidade real, né, que um músico tem de saber determinados aspectos técnicos para desenvolver sua linguagem. Foi quando ele trouxe a história de uma outra musicista que tem sido super aclamada por aí, tocando com uma técnica bastante rústica, né? Sem fazer acordes. Né? E aí eu disse a ele que quando ele disse, primeiramente, que não tocava acordes, eu me lembrei do próprio B.B. King, que era um cara que dizia que não tocava acordes. Quer dizer, esses fenômenos harmônicos, a forma com que nós, né, catalogamos esses fenômenos, eles podem, em muitos casos, não dizer nada para o ouvinte ou para o próprio músico. Então, é um assunto tanto complexo.
So, So, DK, you talk about Keith Anderson, and honestly, I consider him the greatest blues producer today. How did you get in touch to him? Could you please talk a little about him and how he's helping your project and your sound?
Well, Kid, honestly, I was telling someone a few days ago that Kid is actually a very genius engineer in the studio. He's not only a wonderful guitarist, but he has ears out of this world where he'll hear these things instrumentally, and next thing you know, it's just beautiful. I really cannot describe how he works, because sometimes I want to go inside his head and figure out what's going on in there to know how he gets this beautiful masterpiece out. Kid takes everything musically and he takes his time with it. He really appreciates it and he cherishes it like a child. That's really how he treats music, like a child. He's sensitive with it. He's caring with it. He feeds it. He nurtures it. He raises it. And then he sends it out into the world when it's mature. And you can't do nothing but accept it for what it is. So working with Kid I would do it 10 times over to work with him again. I really would.
Yeah, so ele falou, Keith Anderson, para quem não sabe, ele é um cara que, se não me engano, ele é da Noruega, e eu já fiz 2 entrevistas com ele. Fiz uma entrevista com ele em vídeo, então quem quiser assistir depois a entrevista com o Keith Anderson neste canal, é só descer, é um dos primeiros vídeos. E ele é um cara que veio da Noruega, e ele acabou, né? Ele foi conhecendo aos poucos, crescendo na cena do blues lá nos Estados Unidos, e hoje ele é um dos maiores produtores do blues mundial, né? Nos Estados Unidos. E eu perguntei para ele como é que ele entrou em contato com o Keith Anderson, e ele falou, cara, o Keith Anderson não é apenas um guitarrista, ele é um grande engenheiro de som, ele é um grande produtor, o ouvido dele é algo assim inigualável, né? E o Keith Anderson, trabalhar com o Keith Anderson é muito especial, porque ele tem o tempo dele, ele sabe respeitar os tempos, algo assim, né? Aí jargão de músico que eu não vou saber, não tenho a pretensão de saber, mas é muito especial trabalhar com o Keith Anderson. E também tem uma entrevista escrita, eu sei que ninguém gosta de ler, mas está lá em www.colunabluesrock.com. Léo, please go on.
And tell us about Mississippi Delta Blues Festival, man.
Oh man, the B.B. King Museum reached out to me about late October, possibly, and they asked me if I had a passport, and I said yes. And they said, well, they're having this festival, and the B.B. King Museum is going to be there showcasing the museum. And, of course, we would love to send an artist. So they chose yours truly. Excuse me. And I said, okay, I'll do it. and they said, well, you'll be spending about, I believe we spent about 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days in Caxias do Sul. And of course, I met Mr. Toyo, and Toyo was very beautiful. I will say this: the people of South America know how to party. You guys put Americans to shame when it comes to parties. Because every night was partying from about 2 in the afternoon to 11 o'clock in the morning the next day. And I had never done that before in my life. And
Been there. Good time.
It was worth it, but I was tired.
Great, man. Great
But
festival.
it was very beautiful festival.
Tayo is, he's probably the greatest enthusiast of the blues we have in this country. He does so much for the genre. I love his bar. I love playing there. He's a great guy. I'm happy they met you, man, and really happy that you came down here and played for us. I look forward to see you. Because
well, I thank you all for having me, and I thank you all for inviting me for a second time.
But this time around, you're going to play in Rio, right?
Correct. I believe the first show is in Rio de Janeiro, yes.
Well, we're from Rio. I'm Leo from Rio.
Oh, I see. It's 2 different ones. I'm sorry. I did not know that. I'm sorry. I feel bad now. But I believe so. I believe I will be coming to Rio as well.
Cool.
Translate, Léo.
Não, ele falou que ele adorou o festival de... O pessoal...
There we are.
Okay. O Toyo é conveniado, né? Ele tem uma parceria com o pessoal do Museu do B.B. King, né? E o festival tinha esse tema da vida do B.B. King. E aí eles contactaram o DK para que ele viesse e fizesse os shows, e cada de 3, 4, talvez 5 dias. E foi tudo muito legal. Ele adorou, conheceu o pessoal todo, né? E adorou as festinhas também, né? Que o pessoal lá vai até 11 da manhã. Elogiou as nossas festinhas e se divertiu bastante, cara. E aí eu tava falando para ele que o Toyo é uma figuraça da nossa cena aqui, né? O nosso maior entusiasta. E é isso aí, basicamente isso. Bacana demais. E aí eu perguntei para ele: dessa vez você vem ao Rio, né? Ele vem. Aí a gente vai. Vamos nos encontrar.
Sim, e só para lembrar que, avisar, na verdade, que DK will play here in Rio de Janeiro on 6th and 7th July. Ele vai tocar aqui no Mississippi Delta Blues Bar, lá na Gamboa. É a única casa de blues do Rio de Janeiro. As outras casas podem tocar blues ocasionalmente, mas o Mississippi Delta Blues Bar é a única casa destinada ao blues, com toda a atmosfera do blues, e ele vai tocar lá dia 6 de julho, sexta-feira, e dia 7 de julho, sábado-feira. My question now, I have a few questions here, but you are a big fan of B.B. King, of course, you told before, but besides B.B. King, which other bluesmen were important in your musical formation?
Oh, man, I have to say, respectfully, that one of the most underrated blues guitarists is Little Milton. If you actually listen to Little Milton's playing, especially throughout the 60s and 70s, he's playing some real heavy stuff, as well as Tony Hollins, who I mentioned earlier, who was a Delta bluesman. To me, his version of Crawling Cane Snake is one of the best I've heard, but that's, again, my opinion. I also enjoy Django Reinhardt, even though he was more of gypsy jazz, but he was a great influence on my playing style as well. Even Earl Hooker, who I admire, and I also admire the great Magic Sam and Otis Rush. So there's my playing style and my taste in blues is a very big pot of different artists. It's a very big pot.
Yeah.
Very.
Nice. É claro que ele falou aqui vários nomes, né? E não tem como decorar todos, mas o que ele chamou mais atenção, que foi justamente o primeiro, foi o Little Milton. Ele também falou do Earl Hooker. E também o último que ele falou, se não me engano, foi qual? Ai, meu Deus, ele falou do Otis Rush. Also Otis Rush.
Otis Rush. Bom, vários caras, só influência foda, que dá pra ver no jeito que ele toca, né, cara?
Claro. Léo.
Django Reinhardt, que não é um guitarrista de blues. So you're 25 years old, buddy.
That is correct, 25, yes, sir.
Already spoken about how the guys your age, how they love hip hop, and it's not your case, I see. But why do you think the blues?
Well, I've always told people that the blues is one of those rare styles of music where a man can cry and people are okay with it. A man can be exactly who he is. And it takes a lot. In the times we live in, a man is supposed to be tough and not really show emotions, but with the blues, he can express any and everything as much as he feels and let out as much as he wants to, and people praise him for it. And it's not about being praised, it's about having your story being told and people respect it and they care and they relate and they comfort you, and that takes a lot for a man to do. So that's why I chose blues music.
Ele disse que eu perguntei para ele que com 25 anos, né, muitas pessoas ao redor dele lá, no pedaço dele, curtem outros tipos de som. E falei do hip hop, por exemplo. E perguntei como é que aconteceu com ele, né? E aí ele disse que, o blues é um gênero, né, um dos poucos gêneros onde você tem a permissão para ser quem você é mesmo, para que você não se esconda atrás de qualquer máscara, para você expressar o seu choro, o seu lamento, a sua tristeza, para você ser franco com as suas emoções. Quando hoje em dia isso é até quase que uma questão proibida, né? As pessoas têm essas máscaras, as pessoas têm que mostrar que são, enfim, não mostrar emoções, mostrar que são duras, e então assim há toda uma variedade de situações emocionais que o Didi levou para o blues, que o dirigiu para esse som. E eu acho que isso aí é uma baita de uma explicação, porque acontece com todo mundo. Now, I don't want to compare myself to you, right? But I'll tell you one thing. When I was 25 years old, the only thing I wanted to do and be, the only thing I wanted to play exactly like Stevie Ray Vaughan. I was spending several hours crazy with the idea. I followed that path with all my might and energy, but eventually I quit, man. I don't want to do that. So these days, the kind of blues that I listen more often is country blues. Hugo knows about that. But then, seriously, when I get to hear new artists like you, I get hit by that thing again, man. It's lovely. Love your album.
Well, I will say with that, I understand that feeling of hearing something or hearing somebody and going, I have to do that. And I won't lie, I'm still trying to get it right to this day. Even after about eight years now of studying BB, I'm still trying to get it right because, of course, I'm studying others like guitar, snare, motors, rush, etc. But you do have those moments where you come across someone like me of my age and we play and we kind of shock people, because they're going, where did you come from? And you just have to say, well, I put in the work, I put in the time. And so even with, as yourself, focusing on Delta blues or country blues, that takes a lot of time and dedication just to get it right. And you may even still to this day feel like, hey, I'm not getting it right at all, but I'm still trying, So that's what humbles you. That's what humbles you is the journey, the process.
Yeah, man. Coach, what matters? You gotta give. You gotta try and try and try and. But serious, man, I love your shit.
Translate, Léo.
Não, ele tá falando justamente de que a gente, quando entra, ele ainda segue. Eu falei para ele que quando eu tinha a idade dele, eu tava parado naquela história de tentar imitar o Stevie Ray Vaughan. E que hoje em dia eu escuto mais country blues. Mas que quando eu escuto um disco como o dele, né, de um blues mais urbano, de guitarra elétrica, que eu me sinto inspirado, então eu renovo, diria, o meu tesão por esse som. E aí ele falou do processo de estudo, né, desses artistas que, mesmo ele que tem estudado, por exemplo, B.B. King há muito tempo, Little Milton, esses caras todos, ele ainda tem coisas a aprender, não só desses caras, mas como de outros, e que, assim, entrar em contato com esse tipo de complexidade, né, dos nossos, digamos, mestres, é algo que nos torna mais humildes, porque a gente, revendo isso, entende o quão especiais esses caras eram.
Yeah. So,
Do you think that Portuguese sounds like Russian?
I guess so.
Well,
You don't have to say anything, Brad.
honestly,
Vai,
it doesn't sound Russian. It almost sounds. It just sounds like a mixture of, I guess you can say, an alternate of Spanish and an alternate of Italian. Almost, that's what it sounds like.
Dude, it's Spanish. You know, for Portugal, northern Portugal, and southeastern Spain borders, they speak a mixture of Portuguese and Spanish. So you get it.
Yeah.
And the Italians, they're all over here, and we're loud like them. We are we're loud like that.
So, DK,
Always connected to ours.
yeah, o Leonardo perguntou, num tom de brincadeira, é claro, se para o DK, né, o português parece um pouco de russo, e ele falou que lembra um pouco de espanhol, com alguma coisa... E, na verdade, ele acertou, que são todas essas misturas latinas no nosso idioma. Mas I'll put here, DK, a question from Mario. He's a great friend of mine and a great enthusiastic of my work in promoting the blues here in Brazil. He asking, is his first style was blues, or he got other wave, other sound to finally be a blues player?
Oh man, that's a good question. Honestly, Mr. Mario, with the blues and my style of it, I didn't really look at another way to play blues except for just kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily aggressive, but putting it in plain sight, making it simple for people to understand what you're doing, which is another reason why I chose the style of playing that is single note style playing, so that it's not overshadowed by a million licks or a bunch of fancy chords. I tell the story also vocally, and then I tell it melodically or musically through the guitar, one string and one note at a time, because I want you to really understand and feel where I'm coming from. So when it comes to my style of blues, it was always just traditional, straightforward, telling the story the way it needs to be told.
So what you're saying is the blues told the truth from the soul. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Very correct.
Então, o que ele falou aqui, a pergunta do Mário foi se o blues, o que veio, né? Se o blues veio como o primeiro estilo musical dele, ou se alguma outra onda, algum outro estilo levou ele para depois chegar ao blues. Ele falou que o intuito dele, né? O objetivo dele foi sempre falar, colocar para fora a verdade, né? Colocar para fora um sentimento. E o blues tradicional, e novamente, o blues, quando a gente fala nos Estados Unidos, blues tradicional não é o delta, não é o acústico. Blues tradicional nos Estados Unidos é o Chicago Blues, tá? Então, quando ele toca esse Chicago Blues tradicional, seguindo essa tradição do, né, Muddy Waters, B.B. King e tantos outros, ele consegue expor, né, essa verdade. Será que minha conexão caiu? Ou os dois aqui... Ah, não, estão aqui. So I think Leonardo is getting a little problem with his connection. So I'll do another question for you, my friend. But at first, em português, so sorry. Primeiramente, gente, quem puder já deixar o like aqui, quem puder se inscrever no canal é muito importante aqui para a divulgação do nosso trabalho aqui, do trabalho de divulgar o blues. Quem quiser, quem achar que esse trabalho aqui merece algum tipo de ajuda, tem o Pix também, que é só botar contato bluesrock, contatobluesrock@gmail.com. So my question is, because Leonardo told about your age, you're 25 years old, and my question is, because you share the stage with Kristen Kingfish Ingram, a blues phenomenon. You two are from the same generation. Could you talk a little about him and how was the contact with him?
Man, I met Kristen about, I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago. It was about 2019. He had came across my videos, and you know, it was one of those moments where, you know, the stars and planets aligned, because Russell Jackson and James Bowden at the time of the B.B. King Band Experience had invited me to a show, and Kristen just happened to be headlining that show. So we met each other, shook hands backstage, and talked a little. And he told me, "Hey, bro, after the show, I want to talk to you." So after we met at the show, after the show was over, I should say, he said, "Man, I came across your videos, and you got to teach me how to do that BB stuff, man, because it's great." And I never really sat down with him just yet about you know, the BB style or what to do to play it or to get it. But we've shared the stage a couple of times. Of course, we're always in correspondence with one another. The last I saw was actually at the recent Blues Music Awards in Memphis, Tennessee. And we caught up on our careers, just what we've been doing in our personal lives. And he's a real down-to-earth guy. There's a video of us from 2021 of playing the Thrillers Gone. It's just he and I at his father's home in Clarksdale. And we're just having fun, trading licks, and just really grooving. And it's, to be honest, out of the videos and things that I've done, that's one of my most proud moments, to be able to have a friend who is as successful and as talented as he is. And he's always a genuine person. He will never change.
Yeah.
Very golden guy.
Eu perguntei aqui para ele, já que ele tem 25 anos, né, tem um grande fenômeno do blues chamado Kristen Kingfish Ingram, né? É um puta de um guitarrista, é um moleque novinho também, e na edição do Blues Awards, se não me engano, de 2020, acho que foi no ano da pandemia, ou de 2021, ele foi um dos grandes vencedores da premiação. Acho que levou uns 4 ou 5 prêmios na mesma noite, né? E eu perguntei para ele, já que vocês são da mesma geração e vocês chegaram a dividir o palco, né, uma vez, uma certa noite, como é que foi o primeiro contato com ele? Como é que se deu o contato com ele? E ele falou que, na verdade, ele falou de alguns nomes que colocaram eles em contato, mas que quando ele foi, não sei se não entendi se foi num show do B.B. King ou numa casa do B.B. King, peço perdão pela minha tradução porca, mas eles acabaram se conhecendo. O Ingram depois acabou vendo alguns vídeos dele depois, e depois eles fizeram uma pequena jam session e falou que admira pra caramba o Kingfish Ingram e tal. Leonardo, please.
Now, how would you describe your music to someone who hasn't heard it before?
Well, I would describe it as, I would just describe it as really traditional blues, paying homage to the old school style of blues. That's really what it is. It's just preserving traditional blues.
Deve ter gente assistindo aqui que ainda não ouviu o som dele, então eu fiz uma pergunta, digamos, utilitária, que era como é que ele descreveria a música dele para alguém que ainda não a tivesse ouvido. Ele disse que é blues urbano, baseado na onda, blues urbano tradicional, baseado na onda dos caras que ele mais gosta, B.B. King, Little Milton, essas paradas aí. Acho que a gente até tinha já coberto esse assunto, mas eu achei pertinente porque essa altura da live com 40 minutos deve ter gente que entrou aqui agora, né?
Yeah.
We had it covered before, but it's we are on the 40th minute of our live, so I found it to be relevant to talk about it again.
I understand.
Just to inform people.
Yeah. My question now, DK, from the photos on Instagram, I realized that you play with a Gibson semi-acoustic guitar. What does it offer you differently compared to a traditional one like a Stratocaster or a Les Paul or a Gretsch?
Well, of course, the most significant thing about the Gibson that I play is not only its age, it's from 1976, but also its technical makeup. It is a stereo wired guitar, which means that you can take a Y cable and plug into two different amps, or you can plug in the same amp that has two channels. But with the stereo wiring, it's kind of like an out of phase tone. And then, of course, in addition, it has a baritone switch, which is a 6 selection switch that has different tones and different hertz sounding out of it. And it's really, really unique guitar. I'm still learning it, of course, because I'm always trying to figure out what I want to hear. So that's the significance of my 1976 Gibson 355.
Por que eu coloquei o Leonardo Torresini aqui na live comigo? Porque ele é músico. Então ele falou vários jargões aqui de músicos que eu nunca vou entender. Então, Leonardo, o que ele falou aqui? Eu perguntei que eu notei nas fotos de Instagram que... Calma aí, Léo, seu microfone está mutado. Eu perguntei aqui que eu notei que pelo Instagram as fotos dele estavam sempre com uma guitarra semiacústica da Gibson. E eu perguntei o que uma semiacústica da Gibson oferece de diferente quando comparado com uma Stratocaster, com uma Les Paul ou com uma Gretsch. Aí ele respondeu...
Bom, além das diferenças óbvias por conta da construção do modelo da guitarra, existem alguns aspectos da parte elétrica dela que ele ressaltou, né? Primeiro ele disse que é uma guitarra de 1976, falou dela não ser uma guitarra tal qual uma Strato e tudo mais. E disse que você tem a possibilidade de ter uma ligação estéreo, que você pode tirar o mesmo sinal de dois negócios diferentes e mandar para um pedal ou para mandar para dois amplificadores. Existem alguns efeitos, por exemplo, tremolo, que funciona muito melhor em estéreo, né? Você tem uma sensação de dimensionalidade muito maior. Então você podendo tirar dois sinais de uma guitarra só, você tem a possibilidade de usar até mais de um amplificador em palco, né? E além disso, tem ali um switch, né, umas regulagens assim, que tem 8 posições diferentes e que a composição desses elementos realmente proporciona um som único a ele, né? Essa história de ter uma mandada em estéreo desde a guitarra realmente é muito maneira, muito legal mesmo. Eu também curto tocar em estéreo, cara. A questão é que você levar 2 amplos hoje em dia para tocar em bar é uma loucura, né?
Vai.
Peraí, cara, deixa eu pensar aqui. Faz outra você aí, bonitão. Porra.
So my next question is, of course, the blues today is just a niche market, but how is the reception of Americans in general? I mean, is there still a blues savvy audience, or is it just an audience that just has a sympathy for the style?
Well, I will say the reception of the blues is great depending on where you are in the world. For example, when I went to South America, I was very, very amazed and very impressed at how many of you all enjoy blues. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest crowds I've ever performed in front of. Here in America, or should I say the United States of America, you can go to, let's say, Idaho and do a blues festival or a blues show in Idaho, and maybe 60 people will show up. But then you can go the next day to Newport Jazz Festival, and you'll be playing for a crowd of 3,000, maybe 5,000 people. It's very, I wouldn't say it's a dying genre, but it's a genre that is not as relevant as it used to be. So with the audience reception of it, you can either play for this audience that's never heard it before, and then what's what I'm looking for? Kind of influence them to enjoy blues, or they may not. It really just depends on the audience member and how they take it.
Yeah. Eu perguntei aqui para ele, já que o blues hoje em dia é apenas um nicho, né, do mercado fonográfico, eu perguntei para ele se nos Estados Unidos ainda é um público realmente conhecedor de blues ou se é aquele público apenas que é simpatizante ao blues. Ele falou que depende muito da região que ele vai tocar. Ele falou aqui que aqui no Brasil, no Delta Blues Festival, Mississippi Delta Blues Festival, lá em Caxias do Sul, ele ficou impressionado como o pessoal gostava e conhecia de blues. Aí ele falou que quando foi tocar numa cidadezinha, agora me esqueci o nome, ele falou que tinha uma audiência para 30 ou 40 pessoas. Mas quando ele foi para o Newport Festival, né, que é um festival bem tradicional, histórico, tinham 3.000 pessoas. Então depende muito para onde você vai. Léo, vai. Abre o microfone, Léo.
Hey, I know that you have just released your album, right? I'd like to ask, so,
Oh, I'm sorry, it broke up.
Não, o seu microfone, sua conexão tá ruim, cara.
yeah, well, I know that you have just released your album. But I would like to ask you what's next besides Brazil?
Well, one exciting thing I can't announce just yet, and I'm sorry, but I will say that what's next after Brazil is the San Jose Jazz Festival in California. And then we will be hitting the states or the cities of Houston, Baton Rouge, of course, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And then later on this year, we will be hitting Washington State and Canada. So that's just a little taste of what we have now. Of course, more dates are on my website, dkblues.com, where you can find that information. But for right now, those are the exciting ones I'm really excited for, as well as South America. But also, you never know. I might end up recording another record maybe within the next year or two. I don't know yet. I am eager about it, but I'm going to take my time just like I did with this record. So you never know. You just really never know. I like to even keep myself wondering what's next.
Ele, olha, o que vem por aí, né? E aí, além do Brasil, ele falou das datas que ele tem ali pelos Estados Unidos, não sei, Califórnia, Baton Rouge, coisas ali mais próximas à área mesmo, né? Onde ele vive, na Louisiana. Vai ao Canadá. E sobre gravar um novo, quem sabe, talvez algo possa acontecer, mas ele quer levar as coisas no ritmo correto, assim como ele fez com esse disco de agora, né, para que ele possa trabalhar tudo de uma forma racional, de uma boa, dentro do melhor meio possível.
My last question to you, DK. I saw on your Instagram a photo, a post with Derek Trucks, one of the biggest names on the slide guitar. Did you have the opportunity to jam together? What can you say about him and his music?
Man, Derek Trucks and his wife, Susan Tedeschi, they're beautiful people. And of course, we jammed together. We jammed for the first time at the B.B. King Museum expansion in 2021, back in, I think that was June of 2021. And he got his opportunity to play the Lucille that was made for B.B. King when the museum was created. But recently, when I was with Derek and Miss Susan, is that we were doing the reopening of Club Ebony, which was a club that BB performed at, as well as many other artists performed at from the 40s, 50s, and throughout the years. And they did some remodeling, refurbishing of the club, and it was very, very nice. And Susan and Derek decided to come and celebrate with us. And after the show, after jamming with each other and catching up, we sat outside and we listened to music and just talked about everything, just life, music, friends, family, etc., instruments. Mr. Trucks is one of Mr. Trucks' friends had a cigar, these cigars, and apparently Derek, was fond of the cigar as well, and I tried one, and they're really nice cigars. So I guess you can say he's a cigar connoisseur in a way. He has good taste in cigars as well as good taste in music. But they're just beautiful people, man. Like we talk on a regular basis, at least once a week or once every other week when they're not too busy, and we just catch up. And they're really, really friendly people, man. They're beautiful people. And I think one thing I am grateful for in my career is that I've not only gotten to play with wonderful and high reputation musicians, but I've also have had the opportunity of becoming friends with them, good friends with them. We support each other.
Yeah. Eu perguntei aqui para ele, já que eu vi fotos dele, né, com o Derek Trucks e Susan Tedeschi, dois grandíssimos nomes do blues rock, para quem conhece, e perguntei para eles o que ele poderia falar do Derek, né, e também da música do Derek Trucks. Ele falou que ele e a esposa, a Susan Tedeschi, são pessoas maravilhosas, grandes músicos. Eles se conheceram e puderam fazer uma jam session no BB King, não sei não entendi se foi o BB King Celebration ou no BB King House, não entendi, peço perdão, novamente o meu inglês, mas a ideia é esta, basicamente, e falou que mais do que grandes músicos são seres humanos maravilhosos e hoje ele se considera grande amigo deles. Leonardo, last question, please.
Yes.
Do you drink? Can I buy you a beer when you come down to Brazil?
There's nothing wrong with a beer every now and then, so I'll be more than happy to take you up on your offer. Be more than happy.
Great to talk with you, but
So, DK, when you're in Rio de Janeiro, I really want to do a Brazilian barbecue to you, man, in my house.
Well, as long as I can take some back home with me, I think that'll be just fine.
Yeah, I'll take you in Mississippi Delta Blues Bar. Relax, I'll take you there.
Thank you. Obrigado. Thank you. Thank you for that.
DK, thank you so much for being here with us. My work with the blues here is to promoting the history of blues. I'm also a blues researcher. Leonardo is a great musician, not only blues, but mainly blues and rock. And we work here in Brazil to promoting the blues and all the blues history, all the blues feeling, and that's what we love, blues and all that tradition and all that tradition. So sorry, in the South of America, we just love the blues and all that roots. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Really, this is an extreme honor. I'm very excited to come back to South America, and I'm very excited that I'm going to be able to see a lot of South America while I'm down there. So I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. You're very welcome, and thank you as well, Mr. Leo.
Yeah, see you on Mississippi Delta Blues Bar on July 6th and 7th.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. And please, I will buy you a drink.
Yes, sir. So that makes two.
Yeah.
That'll be just fine.
Thank you so much, man. Rapaziada, esse aqui foi o bate-papo aqui com DK Harrell, que estará fazendo aqui uma turnê sul-americana. Na verdade, ele vai fazer a partir do Rio, dia 6 e dia 7 de julho. Depois ele vai descendo por São Paulo, ele vai descendo. Ele também vai para Búzios. Alô, Búzios. Ele vai também para Búzios, Armação de Búzios. Depois ele vai para São Paulo. Ele vai para Jundiaí, tocar com o Big Chico. Depois ele vai para Curitiba, Porto Alegre e Argentina. Ele também vai tocar na Argentina, hein? Então, é isso. Quem puder deixar o like, quem puder se inscrever, quem acha que esse trabalho aqui vale alguma coisa, pode ajudar. Quem também achar que não precisa ajudar, não se preocupe, o Boteco Rock, Coluna Blues Rock, continua promovendo a boa música. Léo, quero te agradecer novamente, cara, por me ajudar aqui nessa live hoje, foi muito bacana. Suas considerações finais, irmão.
Cara, é um prazer falar com pessoas que representam a origem do som que nós amamos. It's a huge pleasure to get to talk with people who represent the roots of the music we love so much. Always special.
Yeah.
Thank you, DK.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll put once again the opening theme and then I'll end our broadcast. Eu vou colocar aqui a nossa abertura. Olha que contradição. Vou colocar aqui a nossa abertura para finalizar a nossa transmissão. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, DK. See you on Mississippi Delta Blues Bar on July. Thank you, all you guys. Obrigado a todos vocês que estiveram aqui. Esse aqui é o Boteco Rock. Quem ainda não se inscreveu, porra, tá na hora de se inscrever e ajudar aqui a porra do meu trabalho. Valeu, um abraço. Thank you.
Where Charlie won't be back no more. It could be a spoonful of diamonds. The ace of spades, the ace of spades. Just a little bit, hey baby, just a little bit. All right now, on the cruise, some tiny dancer. Big red woman with a sharp in his skirt. I've been in the right place, but it must have been around.